Shape cards are really making a comeback, so today I thought it would be fun to create a clock shape easel card. So for this card, I'm going to be using the new Moments in Time die set. And this die set was created to put it on it'll fit on the front of an A2 size card or larger, but let's create a small little shape card today instead. So I've gone ahead and folded a piece of white cardstock in half, and this piece is about the size of an A2 size card. It's a little larger than we need. So I'm just going to lay my main clock piece, the background piece, onto the edge of the white cardstock. And it's very important that we make sure that the top of the circle of the clock is hanging over a bit. We're not going to worry about that little bell and handle at the top. We're just going to worry about the top circle of our clock. And we want to make sure that's hanging over so that we have a little hinge to create our card. So you can see here, once I get through cutting it out, we have a flat piece there at the top so that our card will open and close just like a card. Now when I cut it, it does leave a little bit of edge there. So I just snip those little spiky edges off so that it's more smooth. And that way it won't show when we put our card together. So when you open up your card, you can see the top part has legs and the bottom inside piece has legs. So what I want to do is I want to cut the legs off of the inside piece, the bottom piece of our card. So this is the back of our card, so I'm just going to follow this circle. And so when it cuts out our clock, it does make a line there. So it's very easy to follow that line to snip these little legs off and keep your circle smooth and round. It's not really that hard to do. And I just go back and fussy with a little bit. If I leave a little corner, and I'll just snip that little bitty bit off. And so you can see there, it's really easy to make that circle. So now the top of our card, we want to leave the legs on. So now I've gone ahead and I've cut out most of the pieces for our card. So I've gone ahead and cut out the main background in gray. Then I've gone ahead and cut out a frame circle. And then I've also cut out a solid circle as well. So in order to cut out the solid circle, all you have to do is use this die, and when you run it through your machine, it creates a solid circle. So in order to create the frame, you want to use this die as well as the clock center, and that will create your circle frame. And so I just want one of each of those. So I've also cut out the little bells for our clock as well, and I cut out an extra one. You can see here, you only need 2. We will not need 3. And then I've gone ahead and cut out the handle in navy. So I'm going to use mainly navy and gray for this clock today. So for the center of our clock, where the numbers would be, I decided to use the Petals and Pathways Ephemera pack. And I just went through it and I picked out an image that I really thought would be pretty for the background. It was hard to choose. There's so many pretty images in there, but I like pink with navy, so that's why I chose this one. And so what I did was I took the circle die, and I'm just going to use that as my guide so I can see what, when I cut out the clock face, I'm trying to see what image I will get. And so that really helps you to see what your image is going to look like, but you're not going to cut it out with that one. We're going to use this clock face here that has like the little lines on it for the numbers. And so we're just going to use that to cut it out, and just make sure that your double lines or your little double marks are at the top and the bottom so that you have your image up and down like it's supposed to be in the right direction. So I went ahead and cut that out as well. And now I need to cut out one more piece. I forgot to cut out a solid gray piece. So I'm going to bring back out that circle die. And so I'm going to cut it out because I need one more piece. I thought I had everything prepared, but as I was getting ready to put this together, I realized I didn't. So I'm just bringing out another piece of the gray to match that background. And I'm just going to cut this circle out, and this will be the solid circle. So now we're ready to start putting everything together. So I'm going to first put on the little blue handle. That's what I'm calling it. I think it's, the top of your clock, just this little decorative piece. I'm going to just add little dots of glue on it, and I'm just going to add it to the top there. You don't want to put too much glue because this one would ooze out. So I'm just trying to tap some little dots of glue on it. And then I'm just going to attach it here at the top. And it's a very thin piece to attach to. So you want to be very careful when you're doing this part. I kind of turn it over just so I can see, make sure I'm grabbing a hold of some of that gray paper so that it doesn't move on me. So then I'm going to bring in these smaller pieces and attach those next. You could attach those and then attach the handle. It can go either way. I wanted these to kind of pop up like they were a little larger, so that's why I did them. And I am going to bring in just a little bit of gray ink and ink around them just to add a little bit more dimension to them. I think it makes them look a little bit more round when you do that as well. And so then I will just attach those to the top there as well. And so the die does add just like a little bit of embossing on them that adds a little bit more texture, and I think that really makes it cuter. So that's why I am adding them. Even though the background die cuts it out, I think it's really cute to add these because of that texture. And now I'm just going to add my solid circle to the center of my clock. And then I will add my clock face. And I'm making sure that I do have it the right direction, you know, up and down, that I have my image the correct direction. And then I will add the navy circle on top. You could just leave it without the circle frame, but I really thought that that helped to frame it out and just added more dimension to it. So I am going to add that to the top of my clock as well. And now we're going to add all of this to our card base. So for the solid gray circle here, I want to add it to the inside of my card base. So I'm just going to attach it here in the center. And it fits perfectly in there. Even though we have that flat line at the top, this one fits perfectly. I'm just going to slide it down just a little bit and not worry about centering it up exactly. And then I'm going to take my card base before we add the clock to it. And what I want to do is I want to fold it in half. I'm not going to score or anything. I'm just going to fold it in half, making sure, not worrying about the legs, but making sure that the edges of the circle line up in half. So I'm just making sure that the top of the clock circle matches with the bottom of the clock circle. We're ignoring the legs and just folding it in half that way. And then I want to add glue to just the bottom half of the front of the card. So where we fold it in half, the bottom portion is all we're going to add the glue to. We're going to add it to the circle part as well as the legs. We don't want to add in glue to the top part or it won't be an easel card. It won't be able to stand up. So you're just adding glue to the bottom half. And what you want to do is really focus on getting those legs lined up so that you don't see any of the card from the front when you're looking at it. So you want to get those legs lined up and then be sure to get your circle lined up on the front of your card as well. And then there we have our little card. So I want to go ahead and add a little bit of stamping. So if you are a little nervous about stamping after you put your card together, you could have stamped this centerpiece first, but I forgot to add my stamping. So I'm just going to put it in my stamping platform. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment on the front. Now I'm going to be using the Hard Times Do Not Last Forever stamp from the Time stamp set. And you could cut this out of another piece of paper and stamp it, but I didn't want to cover up my image. So I'm just going to stamp onto the image. So I am going to bring in some black ink to do that so that it really shows up on this image. Now I am just going to center it up the best I can. And I'm using the legs here to set this clock straight to the edge of my stamping platform and then the edge of the circle on the left-hand side to the edge of my stamping platform, so that way everything is lined up straight still. With even though it pulled it off, it'll still be lined up exactly how I had it before. I am making sure, I'm taking a look at it to make sure before I add the ink. And then now I'm just going to add some black ink to it, and then I'm just going to stamp it. And I love this saying here, hard times do not last forever. And so that is a good encouragement for somebody. So this would be a good card to send to somebody for encouragement. And I personally would like to sit this one around in my craft room. So either way, you could just create yourself something to sit around, or you could send it. So this one, I am going to create it to be sent as a thinking of you type card. So I am going to add another sentiment in just a moment to the inside. Now from this same stamp set, I'm going to bring in the Thinking of You stamp, and I'm going to stamp that as my sentiment on this sentiment strip. So I've just cut out a strip that's about a 1/2 inch wide. I didn't really measure, I just kind of eyeballed what I liked. And then I'm going to make sure that it does go across the inside of my card here, so that this is going to help hold the easel open when you open up the card. And I'm just going to stamp it with thinking of you. Now this stamp set has a lot of sentiments. It also has, that would fit on this one, time moves forward, this too shall pass. And all of the other sentiments, the larger sentiments, have smaller sentiments that go along with them. So there's so many choices that you could use. But today I decided that this is what I wanted to use for this card, for this thinking of you card. So once I have my sentiment stamped, I'm just going to add some foam dots to the back of my sentiment strip. And then I'm just going to attach it right here on the inside of my card, kind of not halfway, but more towards the bottom of the card. And then I'm testing it to be sure that my clock will stand up. You do have to make sure you have a strip long enough. You can't put it too close to the bottom, because you want a strip long enough that it's going to fit those legs, and those legs can hold it open. And so it kind of looks like that clock is sitting up. Now in the die set, Moments in Time die set, there are also these little bitty gears. So I've gone ahead and I've cut those out, and I'm just going to arrange those onto the sentiment strip and onto the inside of my card. And then I'll just glue those down. And then I'm going to bring in some confetti, and this is the pink glitter confetti. And I'm just going to add a few of those pieces to the inside or around these gears. So this confetti has like a slick side as well as a rougher side where the glitter is on. I want the rougher side facing up. So I'm just adding glue to the slicker side and attaching it to my card base as well. Well, here is the completed card, and I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Be sure, if you're enjoying this video, to hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll know the next time we upload a new video on the channel. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.